Hi.
Hi. How are you?
Are.
Good to see you. You've already, Kelly, I'm so glad to see you're feeling better. But you already have a bunch of people online wanting to talk to you.
Hi, everybody. I am so excited. I've been I couldn't sleep last night. I've just been so excited to get on with you. Our little test earlier today was hysterical. I was in my curlers and, that was funny. So
I know I always talk about you as one of the women I hold as a North Star. And the one thing that I've learned from you, Crystal, more than probably anyone in my life is just get shit done. Crystal doesn't wait. She just goes, how are we going to do that? And she takes off and does it. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart, because I think my life is better that I am your friend, and I am grateful for you.
Aw, thank you. Well, iterate, I always say. Just start, take a baby step, do our best.
Oh, I didn't hear you. Say that again.
Oh, I was saying, just take a baby step. Any forward motion is just, I don't know, we'll figure it out. Let's fail fast. Let's start soon. Let's just try it, see what happens.
Yeah, and I love that. So you have quite an amazing and compelling story to tell about Angel Aid Cares, and your being invited to be a TED Talk presenter. So I wanted to give you the platform and kind of just share how that came about.
Yeah, oh, well, thank you. Okay, so how do you explain a calling? It wasn't by choice. I was born into a family. Barrett family is my maiden name. I'm the youngest of 5 children. And my oldest brother, Richard, and I were the 2 healthy kids. We have 3 brothers, David, Jared, and Randy, that were born with a genetic disease called mucopolysaccharidosis. It's a mouthful, right?
Yeah.
MPS disease for short. And my mother didn't know she was a carrier of this disease, so she just started having babies every 18 months. Every time she'd stop breastfeeding, she'd get pregnant again. And she could tell that her second and third son were not developing in the same way that her first child was developing. And it became apparent that something was seriously wrong. And so it was researchers and doctors at UCI that diagnosed my brothers with MPS disease. They passed away at 12, 18, and 19 years old. Oh, and as you can imagine, that was just an incredible experience for the family, and from a caregiving standpoint, just unimaginable, really, what my mother went through in that experience, and my father, and my brother, and me, all of us, really.
Yeah.
So Angel Aid was born out of that experience. It was that kind of altruistic, you get into your 20s and you start realizing, oh, it's not all about me. There actually are other people on the planet, and I need to do, my part. And my part was, in my mind, to cure MPS disease. I just got this really strong feeling that we needed to do something about this, that other families shouldn't have to suffer in the way that we've suffered.
Wow. Just, I'm just going to cure rare disease.
I'm going to cure MPS disease. Well, I can tell you, sadly, I failed. We still haven't cured the disease. But we did find a treatment. And back in 1999, I sat down, I think, on a Monday night meeting, probably before or after Ally McBeal or 90210 or one of those shows. And if you remember, we all used to get together, us Pi Beta Phi sorority sisters. And I said, listen, guys, there's a part of me I've never shared. I didn't really talk about my brothers being sick and that we had lost them. It's not cocktail conversation at the fraternity house. You just didn't talk about it. And so I shared that story with you and my sorority sisters. And I said, I really want to do something about this. And the answer was, what can we do? Which is just, right? I mean, the power of women. It's just so, it makes me cry. And what we came up with was Angel Aid. We came up with the idea of Angel Aid as mechanism to raise money to cure MPS disease. And so we started doing what 20-year-olds do, and we started throwing parties. So we were throwing big parties like on Sunset Boulevard, and lots of people coming, and bands and silent auctions. And we raised about $125,000 in 2 years. And we released a research grant to help try to identify a potential treatment path for MPS disease. And the researcher that brought that treatment to the light was from UCLA, which is like pure coincidence.
Wow.
Dr. M.L. Caucus had this concept. Let's treat the underlying symptom, which is this enzyme that they were missing. Let's create a synthetic version of this enzyme, and let's flush it through their bodies like dialysis. And it turns out that was a good bet. We were not the only research grant. There were tons of other dollars and grants behind this. But I've had the great privilege of watching 20 years of development, and they took this drug to market. The company that actually administers this drug today to MPS children is BioMarin. They're based here in San Francisco. There's another company, Takeda Pharmaceuticals, that also has drugs for MPS children. And Dr. Caucus, here he is Chief Medical Officer now, right? He was this lowly researcher back in the day when we were involved with him. And he did it. He and a whole bunch of other people, but they brought this treatment. And so now young men that would have passed away, just like my brothers, are going off to college, and they're not cured. They still have a lot of symptoms, but it's a miracle. It's amazing what science can do. And so I just feel very privileged to have witnessed that journey. And we can talk about how that wasn't enough, and now how we need to do more, but I just wanted to kind of explain how we got to today.
I think most people would say, even if they just had done that in their life, they would be like, I had a great life. I gave back. And the fact that you just went, that's just the first step, is a testament to just how visionary you are. And it's amazing. Okay, keep going, because I know that's just the first part of the story.
Right. Well, we talked about this journey and, it being a calling. And it's one thing, because with a calling, you try to set it down. It's that quiet whisper in your heart. It's that, I know I'm meant to do this. Yeah. And you thought a lot of times you're like, I don't want to do this. Like, no, I'm going to go do this other thing. And
yeah, but it grabs you by the head and goes, no.
Right.
Come back.
You're right. It does. It's sort of with you, because it's internal. It's this internal voice. And so even though I did set aside, rare disease and working kind of full time, I had worked for IBM for 10 years in life sciences, and I really like media and entertainment. So I went over into the media and entertainment side, and then had our daughter, Chloe. She's 13. She's amazing. She's also a carrier of MPS disease, so she'll have her own journey with MPS one day. Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So this is a hereditary disease. And I heard you mention that men are going to college. Is it more for men than women?
Okay. So it's an X-linked disease. The mothers are the carriers, but don't have the disease. And the sons have a 50-50 chance of having the disease. So there's 7 different types of MPS disease. Type 2, I'm only speaking about type 2, which is the specific type that runs in the Barrett family. But for type 2, for my mother, for me as a carrier, so because I'm my mother's daughter, I don't have the disease, but I have a 50-50 chance of being a carrier. So I'm a carrier of the disease. When I went to go have sons, we had to go through several pregnancies to get to a healthy child, and that child was Chloe. So she is a healthy child, and she's not a child anymore. She's 13.
Yeah. She's a young lady, and how
how do y'all like being stuck at home with teenagers? Like, oh my God, this is so crazy what we're living through. It's actually amazing. It's been lots of gin rummy and cards and, you know, just doing our thing. But yeah, so it's in my case, it's X-linked, and the mothers are carriers. The sons have the chance of having the disease.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, so what I was saying is, you know, here Chloe's come into our life, and everything's just been, you know, so beautiful since then. And then BioMarin, this company that has this treatment for MPS kids, builds a building down the street, literally like a mile and a half from my house. So now every morning I'm driving to work, right? Okay, so this is the calling part, like the calling kicks back in again. So I'm driving on my commute to work every day, and I'm going, okay, God, I get the message. Like, you put a freaking building on my commute, you know, to work every day. I know you want me to go back into rare disease, and I'm not a super religious person. I'm just kind of, you know, but I'm like, okay, I know you want me to go back into rare disease, but what is it? What can we do? Because now the MPS Society that we were raising money for before, you know, they're doing tens of billions a year in research, and we have a treatment. It's not a cure. There's still so much work to be done. But for like a year, I'm thinking about this problem in my brain on my way to work, and a couple things start coming to me, and these are the things that came. Okay, MPS has 1,800 families in the United States, 3,000 worldwide. Rare diseases, if you pull the lens back, has 350 million patients worldwide. More than AIDS and cancer combined. 350 million people. That's like 1 in 10 on the planet, families, okay? And there's still, and I'm turning 49 tomorrow.
That's right.
Right? My birthday tomorrow. There's still 50 years later, after everything my family's been through, no cures. So there's no cures for the 350 million people that have a rare disease. Half of those patients are children, and a third of those children won't see their 5th birthday.
Well, that's a downer.
You're a mother, I'm a mother. You think about the realities of what I just said. 60 million children on the planet won't see their 5th birthday because of a rare genetic disease, and there are no cures. And there's only treatments, like the one we're grateful to have for MPS. There's treatments for 5%. So what happens to you as a mom? You have a child, you have all your hopes and dreams that are going into the birth of that child. You see over time, whether it's in the first days or in the months or years to come, that child's not developing in a healthy way. You go through, on average, 8 years to get an accurate diagnosis. So doctor appointment after doctor appointment of misdiagnosis. This child has this symptom, this child has, oh, they have this, the doctors are trying to figure it out, and you're going through all this repeated trauma. And then you finally get the diagnosis, and now you're looking at your doctor going, well, now what? What are you going to do for me? And the answer is, we don't have a treatment, we don't have a cure. And so those children are sent home to die, and they are dying slowly. And so the moms are, and it's not an exclusion of the dads. It's just our belief at Angel Aid. This is our new company now. It's our belief at Angel Aid that we uplift rare families by supporting the mother. We care for the caregiver 82% of the time. That's a mom. So we're all about moms. We're all about the moms. And there's 350 million patients on the planet, and they all have a mom. So here we are. So that's what those are the things that, you know, I'm ruminating on in the car every day. And it was strong enough of a calling to stop working in the commercial realm and move over into nonprofit, resurrect Angel Aid as what was a fundraising organization, and we incorporated as a 501c3 and relaunched the company in November of 2018. So
yeah, and it's been, I have two questions, because before I forget it, you've really accelerated from when you were like, I'm going to do this, I'm quitting my job, I'm going to do it. I think we need to talk about how breast cancer and your surviving breast cancer factored into that decision making to do that. But one thing that I'm just doing the math on, you said that these doctors are taking 8 years, but a lot of them are dying before their 5th birthday. Does that mean some of these children are dying before they even know what they have?
they're never even diagnosed.
Oh my God.
Not even diagnosed, right? Oh. A huge part of our community is the undiagnosed, right? So living with symptoms, seizures, and developmental delays, and, you know, again, I call it in the TED Talk the unimaginable. And what happens with rare moms is these, oh God, there's so much hope, right? There's so much bravery and courage in these women. And there's also so much of what we're experiencing, just to bring it current. COVID-19 has created an experience, a life experience that rare moms live with every day. This idea of social isolation.
Right.
Right. So my son is dying, my daughter is dying is not cocktail conversation. You can't really even talk about it at school. I mean, there are moms that speak up and they have a voice, but the majority are going insular, right? They're handling this very difficult situation either in the family or with just a real small support group if they have it. And so that social isolation that we're all sort of feeling now, rare moms feel this all the time, right? And homeschooling. Rare moms are always homeschooling, either full-time because their child has too many symptoms to go to school, or part-time because their child's having symptoms and they need to keep them home. So social isolation, homeschooling, and medical uncertainty. I mean, I'm talking to moms every day that are breaking down. I can't get my infusion for my daughter right now. They're not allowing us to come to the hospital to get her infusion, right? I'm scared to death that my husband's going to bring COVID into my home. And I already have a child that's immune compromised or something along those lines. So the fear and the anxiety and the worry is really high. It was already there anyway.
And Crystal, I don't know if you can see the things, but you're really moving a lot of people. My life is that Pitt's family is really touched. Mommy Land Rants is heartbroken. And Inga, who's been joining us every day, you know, I know she has autistic child, and feeling that same sort of fear of, God, you know, what am I bringing potentially home to a child that is already immunocompromised? Nope, didn't pronounce that correctly.
That's okay.
Didn't go to medical school. So I think, first of all, this is a fucking downer. I mean,
it's hard.
You somehow managed to make this a beautiful, beautiful thing. Tell me about bringing on Microsoft and the portal, and then also you did some tests with moms. You really listened to them, and they came back with data that informed how and why Angel Aid has kind of created these communities. So let's talk about that first. Like, what's the data you heard back from moms?
Yeah.
Like, in terms of what they need?
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, so we went from the calling, right? Okay, the calling, I get it. Okay, we're going to go do this, to, oh, I don't want to do this wrong. We got to do this right. This is a big global problem. These are really deep-rooted challenges, and personally, as me, I don't want to make a promise to a rare mom that I can't keep. They already have enough to deal with. So I was very nervous to assume what I thought would be the right support services. And by support services, we mean social support, emotional support, financial support, and physical support. So those are kind of the four spectrums, you know, that a mom is impacted, typically negatively by a diagnosis or a lack of a diagnosis by this experience. So we partnered with Indiana University, and we spent 6 months listening. We talked to moms across America. We worked with their School of Social Work and had students survey moms either in a video format or through SurveyMonkey, online surveys. And we asked, what can we do for you outside of find a treatment, cure my child's leukemia? What can we do to support you in this journey that you're on that so many of us can't understand, you know? And the feedback was just so fundamental. I just want to be listened to without judgment. I just want a little bit of time for myself, for self-care, right? And I just want to know I'm not crazy. I've got doctors telling me I'm crazy. They either don't believe the symptoms or they're misdiagnosing the symptoms, and I know it's not quite right. Or I've got family and friends telling me, you know, all sorts of advice that isn't quite working. I feel like I'm losing my mind. So, you know, just help me hear other stories from other moms so I know I'm not losing my mind, right? So we're like, okay, those three things: listen without judgment, you know, hear from other moms. Okay. So really what we're in is the business of connection.
Okay.
We're here to connect a community of moms. We don't need to overthink this. We just need to bring moms together. Rare moms, talking to rare moms is the ultimate form of healing and catharsis for that community, for our community, right? No one can understand, like another rare mom, what they're going through. And so right? I mean, we all know this when we go through our own difficult life experiences. Like attracts like. You want to talk to somebody that's been through it. Talk to me about it.
Well, and there's Christina Wolfram was on yesterday, and she and I both have had depression, and this journey of empathy versus sympathy, and being able to go, oh, I'm sorry that's happening to you, versus I'm going to crawl down in the bucket and I'm going to hold your hand and I'm going to listen, and I'm just going to be here. And even if you can even take that a dark, deeper level and say, because I've walked this path before and I've sat in this bucket before. That is such an intimate, raw thing a gift that you could give someone, and you're striving to do that. It's absolutely. What's the reaction from the moms been?
Yeah. So we talked to these moms, and then we came up with various different types of services and partners. So Angel Aid has a health and wellness practitioner network, and we're in the Mecca. We're in San Francisco Bay Area. We have every modality of self-care and support, whether it's meditation experts, yoga, communications with each other, you know, we're in the tech Mecca too, right? So how can we connect? And we'll come back to the Microsoft, but how can we connect at scale and digitally? So we decided to partner with a woman named Dr. Laura Riordan. She has a platform called Sustainable Mom. And she actually was in my breastfeeding support group like 15 years ago. And I went through the Sustainable Mom, so I know that it works because it was awesome. And what Laura does is she brings us back. She brings the moms back. Brought me back to who I am, the essence of me as a woman before I ever even had kids. So she has graciously licensed her Sustainable Mom platform. And the first place that we utilized this platform was in retreat. So we built a 4-day, 3-night retreat for rare mothers We brought them into Barrett Family Ranch, which is our family home, which is 10 minutes from Disneyland, sleeps 20 people down in Orange County. You've been there. And we brought these mothers into retreat, and we had conversations, and we helped them. We asked them and we helped them reconnect with the woman that they were before they had children, so that that woman could be an archetype, a help to herself, right, in this difficult journey. And then we take them fast forward. Okay, now you've gone into having a child, and the grieving process that needs to happen, that child isn't the child you thought you were going to have.
Oh, wow.
That child and that reality of motherhood is not what you envisioned, right? It's a grieving process. Even if your child is alive and you're seeing them and loving them every day, it's the recognition that this is not what I thought this was going to be like, right? And that recognition is a really important step to acceptance and resiliency in living every morning and every day with the realities of long-term caregiving, is accepting where you are and building strategies to uplift yourself through this experience. And so once we've gone through that awareness element, then we get into, okay, how do you ritualize self-care into your daily practice? How do you make the process of making a cup of coffee a self-care practice? You light a candle. You source your coffee from someplace meaningful to you. You take a few deep breaths while you're waiting for the pot to boil or the coffee to drip. You quiet your mind and your body. And let's do it. Right now, let's do there's nothing like breath to slow your body. So let's do it. So let's all of us, hopefully you're not driving. If you're driving, don't do this exercise, but let's all of us, we're going to take 3 deep breaths together. And at the end, we're going to do an Om. We're going to send a message to rare moms that we love and support them. Okay. And watch what happens to your body and your heart. Okay. So close your eyes. Okay. Set down whatever you have in your hands, ground your feet, close your eyes for a moment, and take a deep, deep breath in and out. We're going to take another deep breath in and out. And another deep, deep breath in. And we're going to Om. Now open your eyes and observe, how do you feel?
I feel lighter.
Just lighter.
Yeah.
Calmer.
Yeah.
A little more grounded. 3 deep breaths. It took us 15 seconds of self-care. So, doesn't solve the universe.
But it sure
makes a difference.
And you know the term that's coming to mind is like these micro moments. You don't need to go to the spa. You don't need to fly. Like, it's just that brief moment of pouring that cup of coffee. There's joy in that, and there's peace in that, and finding that micro moment. Skull Mama is saying, I really needed this today. Thank you. Oh, I love you, Skull Mama. And how's the reaction been from the moms in these retreats? Was it hard to get them there?
Oh my gosh. Well, yes. So first of all, a rare mom, really any mom. I mean, we're just hardwired to take care of everybody else before we take care of ourselves for the most part. So that was a big learning. You know, would moms be willing to come? Could they come? Could they find coverage, you know, for their children, for them to be away? And so, so we had a small group environment by intention. We had 7 mothers, including, well, plus myself, so 8, and then a staff of 3. And we flew moms in from Boca Raton, Florida, from Boston, Massachusetts, from Washington, DC, California. And what we found is, first and foremost, those connections were instantaneous. Like within minutes, these moms were hugging, they were deep. There was just this heart recognition without even having to go into what my child has, what are the symptoms. In fact, we found that they appreciated not being with other moms with the same disease, that it was a relief to take a burden that they are always thinking through. How am I going to solve this problem, this difficult problem? Set that burden down and just be a woman. Just be a woman with other women. Wake up in the morning, have breakfast, laugh, go sit in the sunshine. We absolutely did workshops throughout the day, but we sprinkled in the experience with Renee, a sound therapist that came in with Tibetan bowls, and we did sunrise yoga, and we did an equine experience. We went and worked with horses to kind of connect with your energy. What energy are you putting out, and what energy can you receive? And just those couple of days, the feedback was, I haven't slept in 4 years since my daughter's diagnosis, and I felt safe enough in this environment to sleep. Oh. I'm sorry I missed breakfast, you know, like that sort of feedback. Or I loved those rituals, those mini moments a day of self-care. Those are the tips and tricks that I needed to reframe my daughter's infusions. She's getting infusions 3 times a week for 4 hours. How can I make a medical situation more whimsical and fun? So we brainstormed doing a spa day with her daughter, and now she does nails and they do hair, and something that has to happen, make it into something that can be lighthearted and can be, you know, as fun as it can possibly be. So yeah, so that was the feedback. That was 6 months ago. These moms are still bonded and connected. They're still calling each other, talking to each other. We have an uplifting gifting program. It's really important that moms have visual reminders of our support at Angel Aid, and that there's this army of people behind them. And so we gifted arrow necklaces. Arrows stand for strength in the Angel Aid value system. And so we gifted arrow necklaces, so the moms will like wear the necklaces, and they love to text. And those were all the clues we needed to know that, okay, we can change the world 7 moms at a time, but we've got to take this online. That's how we're going to scale.
Okay. So that's a perfect segue into my next question. Like, you figured out how to crack Microsoft and get them to help you. So for those that are on this channel, and I'm on this particular show, I'm hoping are into nonprofits, because that's one of the things that we wanted you to talk about, and things that are out there for them, that the levers they can pull to maybe use some of the tools you found, the ones that you've worked with, and the ones that you're like, that one didn't work. I think we'd love to hear about that. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, okay. So if you've learned anything, this is a calling. There's some divine element going on here. I'm not a super religious person, but I do believe in the universe aligning when you're doing work that you're meant to be doing, and you're doing it in service to others. So COVID hits. We always had it in our 18-month plan, our strategic plan, in 18 months to bring these services online. That was always part of the plan. But then COVID hits, and now we're like, whoa. First thing we had to do was cancel our April retreat. So we couldn't bring people together. We had to cancel our two of our May fundraisers and our summer fundraiser. So that was a huge hit to Angel Aid. And I'm going, okay, pivot. Come on, Chrissy. What are we going to do? We got to pivot. And so I'm like going to sleep every night thinking, we've got to get online. We don't have a staff to get us online. How are we going to get online? Like, how are we going to do this? And this woman, Brenda Brewer from Microsoft, okay, heart connection, not a tech connection. She went to a retreat that I had attended like a year ago. It's called Dare to Detour, and it's in Montana. It's a women's retreat. And it was actually, yeah.
Went to that?
Yeah, it was, oh my God, it's on a dude ranch in Montana. And Dr. Laura Riordan was there as one of the retreat facilitators. And it was actually on that retreat that all of those morning commute conversations in my mind came together. They coalesced. They went wah, 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 and it hit me. I'm actually not meant to work with the children. Angel Aid is meant to support the mothers. That epiphany hit in Montana. And so Brenda had seen something on social media about this retreat. She was thinking about going on retreat, and she called up Cheryl Ott, and said, who runs the retreats, and said, you know, I'm thinking about going. And she said, you got to talk to Cristol, because Cristol worked at IBM for 10 years. She's a tech person. And she had this huge epiphany while she was on our retreat. And now she's running Angel Aid, and, you know, you guys should talk. So Brenda and I talked, and Brenda's like, that's amazing. So she goes on the retreat. This is like a year ago. She goes on the retreat. She comes back, and like a month later, I call her, and I'm like, Brenda, did you have fun on the retreat? She was like, oh, it was so amazing. And I said, listen, I don't know you well, but I don't know. I just want to keep talking to you. You want to talk once a month? She's like, yeah, let's talk once a month. So I'm updating her on once a month, you know, on what's happening with Angel Aid. I get a call from Brenda, and she says, you know, I've been thinking this must be really hitting you and your community really hard. I want to do something with you. I want Microsoft to adopt Angel Aid as a nonprofit. I'm going to nominate you, meaning Angel Aid. We have this program called Microsoft Give, and I'm going to nominate you. And I'm like, okay. And she goes, fill out all this paperwork. I fill the paperwork out. So she pulls us into Microsoft, into this program. And like 2 weeks later, she goes, okay, now we have this thing called a hackathon. And in the hackathon, it means that any Microsoft employee can volunteer their time to development projects for nonprofits. She goes, do you think you could be ready? And I'm like, well, yeah, I have a project for you. We need to get our community online. Don't you get the goosebumps? I got goosebumps telling the story. I mean, we were just like, this is not happening. So turns out March 27th and 28th, this Jumpstart Hackathon happened. We assembled a team of 15 women-led developers and designers and UI, UX, experiential experts, translators. It was really important to me that whatever we develop and put online, it can be on a scalable, multilingual platform, because our community is 350 million moms around the world, right? So from the get-go, whatever we build has to be able to scale to that. So the Microsoft team was really keen, as they should be, on developing from scratch. And I was going, I don't want something from scratch. I can't maintain something from scratch. Let's think about this a little different. Plus, we're not going to be able to make enough progress fast enough. We need to be up and running by the end of the hackathon. And I got to tell you, people were like, what? You're overcomplicating this, scale it back. And I'm going, no, like Elon Musk, like, we can do it. We just got to think about it differently. Let's think about it differently. So we started thinking about it differently. And the team was coming back with these ideas. And they were like, you know what? You don't have to build it from scratch. There's platforms that are designed to build community. Now, we all know the obvious ones: Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Instagram. These are platforms that already exist. In our community, we need to connect. We're in the business of connection. So we need to be able to connect our rare moms in an environment that they can also learn. So we need a connection platform, but we also need a teaching platform where we can do sustainable mom workshops and other self-care tactics that we can bring our health and wellness practitioner network into, right? So we need a teaching platform and a connection platform. And we started with that's scalable and multilingual. Okay, so that's mobile first, and scalable, multilingual, and can teach and connect at the same time. So it's like the list kept growing. And a few really obvious platforms were coming to mind. And you may have heard of some of them, Thinkific and Kajabi. But the one that you've never heard of them before? Okay, fine. Never mind them, because the one that came to mind that met our requirements is Mighty Networks.
Okay.
So Gina Bianchini, the CEO of Mighty Networks, she started Ning back in like the early 2000s. No, okay. Like precursor to, yeah, okay. Anyway, so it's this amazing platform, and it allows us to do all the things that we can do. So I went back to the Microsoft team and I said, hey, are you offended? We want to build on someone else's technology. Is that a problem? And the answer was no. This program is about you. This is about, we're here to help you get up and running in a sustainable way. I was like, love that word, because we use it all the time.
Yeah.
And so we did. So we ran our trial and then purchased Mighty Networks. In 24 hours with the Microsoft team, we launched a new website using a whole new brand style guide. We launched our Mighty Network. We launched our sustainable mom programming in English, Spanish, and Hindi. And we just opened our community on April 10th. So in 24 hours, we built it, we've been optimizing it, and we opened it on April 10th. So if anyone's listening and you know any rare moms, just go to angelaidcares.org and have them click on join our community. And we've got right now, and these aren't huge numbers yet, but they will be, but we've got 2 or 3 rare moms joining a day, and it just stops my heart to know that we are doing what we said we were going to do. We're bringing moms together in a way that nobody else is thinking about doing. And I'm so grateful. I'm sorry, I'm a little verklempt right now, but I'm so amazed and humbled. And I'm just so grateful to all of our Angel Aid volunteers and our Microsoft volunteers. We needed help in the middle of the night with our Spanish translation. We had a man, we're not women only, we're women led. We had a man from Microsoft raise his hand at 12:30 at night in Phoenix, Arizona. And he said, I'll do your translation. So for 4 hours in the middle of the night, he worked on the translation. And then he said, I'm so sorry, I'm too tired. And another mom raised her hand and said, that's okay, Archer, I'll pick up from here. And we, it's just, when you're working with companies like Microsoft that are global in nature anyway, these things can happen. They can, and then you get the heart involved, and it's just, and the universe, and it all just, okay, here we go.
And I've been watching this from the sideline, watching these things fall into place, beautiful things, and it just validates what you're doing every step of the way. And I think one of the things that's quite remarkable is that this niche didn't exist before you. Like, we had the doctors and we had the kids, but nobody was recognizing this trauma that these moms are going through to keep their healthy children living normal lives while caring for these children that could expire. And I'm wondering, it's almost an homage to your own mom in a way. And I'm wondering if her story plays in your mind, how often when you think about what you're doing and what your mom went through. And if that's too personal, we don't have to talk about that. But.
No, Phyllis, I'm so glad you brought Phyllis into this conversation. So let's just tell a couple stories about Phyllis, because my mother had the love of her life, right? She met my father in high school. He was captain of the football team, and she was head drill team leader, and they just had this beautiful instant love. And my mother was devout Mormon, and my father had to convert to Mormonism in order to marry her. You know, she was steady on her path.
Okay.
And they had this basketball team of kids. And, you know, she was 8 months pregnant with Randy, her fourth son, when they finally diagnosed what was going on with David and Jared. And can you imagine sitting in the doctor's office and they say, okay, we finally, you know, we know what this is. They have a rare genetic disease called MPS, and there's no treatment or cure. And she's 8 months pregnant, wondering like what's not only going to happen to these children, but this new child that I'm bringing into the world. Randy's born, and he's confirmed to have MPS. And then I was a bit of an accident. My parents were active, and the chill, like the cold, the blood runs cold. I can't bring another child into the world.
Right.
I now know that I have this gene, and they had developed an amniocentesis test. So I was in 1970 one of the first amniocentesis babies, and they said it's a girl, and she's got brown hair and brown eyes, and she is not a carrier, and she doesn't have the disease, right? So here I come in to the world, and so now she's got 5 of us. Well, the realities of caring for 2 healthy children and 3 sick children, even with all the support that the Mormon Church was giving, the Relief Society was coming in, because it was 24-hour care. I mean, my brothers had developed the ability to walk and to potty train and talk, and then they were regressing. They were losing that ability. So she at one point had 4 children in diapers. Me as a baby, but a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old, right? I mean, big. So just untenable situation. And the stressors on my parents' marriage were real. And they divorced. So my mom and dad divorced when I was 3. And it became obvious that she couldn't care for my brothers at home, that she needed full-time nursing support. So there was a retired nurse that worked with my brothers most of the time. And my mom, you know, went off and did what women did in the 70s, like bra burner, you know, I'm going to go get a job and be the mom, you know, and do this thing. I didn't know until decades later, literally like within the last 5 years, that the reason my mom would make a meal in the morning in a crock pot and go off to work all day, and then my brother and I would come home from school, total latchkey kids. I mean, nobody was watking us down in Laguna Beach in the 70s. Like, forget it. No.
We all turned out okay.
Oh yeah, we all turned out fine. So we'd come home and we'd eat the food out of the crock pot, you know, and then my mom would get home at like 10 o'clock at night. What I didn't know is that she was getting off of work and going to the hospital and having dinner with my brothers, and then coming home and being a mom to us. So she was living this dual life, right? It's just blows your mind. And like I said, for so many years, I didn't even know this about my mom. So she remarries, my dad remarries, these short-term marriages, these like kind of sexy marriages. My dad's like 40, urban cowboy in the 80s, and he marries this 22-year-old blonde buxom babe. And my mom marries like the equivalent of Top Gun, you know, Air Force fighter pilot.
What's his name? I remember
his name was Robert Rouchet, and you know, we moved to England. He flew F-111 fighter planes and the Falkland Island crisis, and you know, all this kind of stuff. So both of those marriages were meaningful marriages, but they weren't the right marriages for either one of my parents. So they each divorced again. And then my parents both remarried again. Wow. They had long-term marriages, right? Like 20-year long marriages. And then 14 years ago, they both widowed within a year of each other, the same year that my daughter was born, Chloe, right? So my parents, who have been apart for 35 years, are now widowed, and they're coming back around to seeing each other because my daughter's born. And that's this like beautiful miracle that's happened in our family, right? So what happens? I go off to Bali with Jim and Chloe, and my grandfather's house floods. And my mom doesn't know what to do because I'm off the grid and I'm the fixer usually, you know, so she can't call me because I'm in Bali. So she calls my dad. And she's like, Richard, you need to come help me. You know, this was your father-in-law too, and I have this problem. So my dad, he's a contractor. He goes over and he helps her get through this situation. And Jim and Chloe and I come back from Bali. And what happens? Mom, hey, it's Christy. Oh, hi. Yeah, I just had a drink with your dad, you know, 2 weeks later. Hi, Mom. Oh, yeah, your dad just took me to dinner, you know. And I call my brother. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Time out. So my parents, 35 years later, start dating again, right? And you just can't, it's like mind boggling. You can't even believe this. So my parents, I am so happy to say, like, love conquers all. They have been back together since my daughter was born, right? They are so sickling. They're just adorable. Like, they are so in love, like they are 15 again, you know. I mean, they're so darling, you can't even believe it. And it wasn't all hearts and flowers. It wasn't like perfect, you know. I was freaking out. I was like, wait a second, you already did this to me once. You already got divorced once. You already broke apart once. Now you're going to drag my daughter through it. Now you're going to drag me. Like, I didn't believe it was going to last. I was like, great, you know, I can't even believe it. But, you know, come on, you guys, like, don't hurt the family by having them together. I was really worried. And I remember, like, my brother and I in the back seat of a minivan. And I remember your amazing minivan video as well, the back window breaking. Oh my God, I've never laughed so hard. But my brother and I are in the back seat of a minivan. My mom and dad are in the front seat. Chloe's in a baby seat in between my brother and I, and we're all going off to a movie. And my brother and I are just looking at each other like, holy shit, what is going on? Like, he's in his 50s, I'm in my 40s, and we're like going to a movie with our parents that are now back together. So this is just like this insanity that's our family. So what's come out of this, and here's another little, I saw somebody say plot twist. Here's another little plot twist, is not only are my parents back together after 35 years of being apart, now they're learning how to be in a relationship, because really they've failed. Like, all, you know, most of their life they failed at relationships, and now they're learning how to be in a relationship. And so they're in relationship together, and my mom comes to this realization that her drinking, her tool to cope with the loss of her sons, losing a 12-year-old, an 18-year-old, and a 19-year-old, you don't recover from that quickly. Mm-hmm. You don't recover from that quickly. And her coping mechanism developed as an innocent habit. She didn't even have a drink. She's Mormon, right? She didn't have a drink until she was 31 years old. She had her first mimosa at a wedding. Developed into a glass of sherry at the end of the day, developed into a glass of wine, developed into a bottle of wine a day sort of habit. And it was tearing her relationship apart. Her newfound loving relationship with my father, it was tearing that relationship apart, because she was revisiting all the trauma that had happened 35 years ago, you know. And my dad's going, listen, I want to talk about these things, but I want to move on. I want to progress beyond this. Nobody's perfect in our family. We're all just doing the best we can. And so 4 years ago, my mom stops drinking. And the conversations that have come out of that have been so deep and real. Even though they're emotional, they're real conversations. I feel like I got my mom back. I got my mom back after 35 years of losing her. And I got her back in the context of building this amazing company called Angel Aid that's in service to rare moms. And so now we're talking daily about what's this program, how's this going to look? And she comes to the retreat and she says, for the first time in my life, I'm with people that understand what I've gone through, right? And she's just connecting with these moms, and these moms are in a wide range. Just found out the diagnosis of their 19-year-old daughter 6 months ago, right? So an adult onset rare disease, to now I have 2 children. One passed away from a disease 18 months ago, and my daughter is 4.5, and she's dying from the same disease that my son passed away from, right? To another mom that is living with her son in the home. He's a teenager, and he has aggressive tendencies because of his disease. And so you're sort of in the home managing these intense, symptoms, but loving your son, of course. But her reality is just, and so my mom is like listening, and she's like the elder, she's like the crone. She's the elder,
Hey,
providing. Yes.
We have 1 minute left. I told you this would go fast, and it has flown. Okay. This hour has flown. So in this last minute, I want you to pay tribute to your mom. Her picture of Phyllis is on your feed right now. She's the older woman with the gray hair. So that's Crystal's actual mom, Phyllis. We've got 30 seconds left. How can we help you?
Okay. So, Angel Aid is on the verge of just scaling, of exploding with support. And we're doing a capital campaign right now because we need to bring on full-time mental health professionals to be our community managers, basically. So we're doing a capital campaign. It's a huge number. It's $675,000 for 2020. Okay. Every donation, every
10 seconds.
$10, $25 makes a difference. So go to angelaidcares.org, please, and support our work.